Question number 23. Do you believe opposites attract? Could you fall in love with a completely different person? What my mentor said, opposites attract to later attack, but it depends on the kind of opposites. For example, I'm a firm believer in couples who work together, power couples in the same profession. But that does not mean I do not believe that a medical doctor can get married to a painter. But they have to have common interests that you can have opposite careers, for instance, but you cannot even dare to have opposing values.
Opposites attract, and I can fall in love with someone who is completely different from me. That's because I don't have everything. I don't possess everything a human being needs in terms of character. There's some things I have to learn from you. There's some characters I need to learn from you, maybe to change or work on myself.
Yes, yes, 100% yes.
What do you mean opposite? Like someone that is taller than you, I mean?
Not necessarily physical. like temperament-wise.
You think you will attract someone who has a different temperament from you?
Yeah.
And you'll be cool with that?
Yeah.
Give me an example of a temperament that is different from yours. As for me, do I believe opposite attracts? Yes. Man and a woman. Yeah, that opposite attracts.
It's about opposite attracting. I think in theory, that's the perfect way to go. But when it comes to in practice, I think we are not ready to do the work, because for you to be like different from your partner, it means you guys will have maybe different opinions or maybe different ways of doing things. I think that's what the opposite thing attracts. But for me, I see strength in that, because it means the things I do not have, you have. Do you understand? So as a couple together, I think we are supposed to be stronger. We are opposites rather than if we are similar. Yes, if we are similar, it's easier to be in a relationship with someone you see, you see things in the same light. But I think if you are opposite and you make it work, you are stronger together.
There has to be something common. You can't be completely opposite to each other. That's just not realistic.
One thing I've noticed is everybody has needs. Once you as a person are positioned in a way to fill that need, and it's like a major need at that time for that person, people will attract.
Well, fair enough.
At that time, as they evolve themselves,
those needs will change, and your ability to meet them might also change as well.
Yeah, so that's when the breakage will not happen.
Well, for me, I believe that there has to be some common things for any relationship to work. Either common values or common goal, do you understand? Or common need, like you said. I think there's a lot of fantasy around attracting someone that's completely different from you. I think it's just a fantasy. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But more often than not, he looks good on paper and looks very nice on paper. And yes, I mean, when it comes to temperament or personality, it could make sense when you have someone that is different from you in that manner, such that there's a balance in the relationship, and one person can cover for the deficiency of the other person. It makes sense, but I don't really think.
I think opposites even make it very far in marriage.
But here's the thing now, even those examples you are giving doesn't mean that those were things that fundamentally made them work. And you can't even say it worked as a result of that, as a result of the fact that they are opposite. If they came together and said, okay, we are different in this way and this way, so make up for I mean, from an observer can say, this person looks like they are more outspoken and they are more assertive. This other person looks more, docile and, calm and collected. Obviously, there are situations where the calm and collected person needs to be in charge, and there are situations where the person who is more assertive needs to be in charge, so that they can both look out for themselves. But I don't think this is exactly how most people think about their relationships. Like, okay, I'm deficient in this, you have
You
this.
are
So
that's not the
that's usually not in
it
some
just
some it happens exactly.
It just happens
And sometimes
work like that.
sometimes it's that opposite. They use it against themselves internally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Not necessarily, like, it doesn't necessarily aid the relationship. But I think the point of, like, opposite, like having someone that is different from you, is that it's going to be more fun. I think so. Like, you enjoy yourself more, like, because you can still be fascinated by the other person's way of reacting to life and stuff. Do you get? Unlike if two of you are just the same thing.
It depends on if there is an open-mindedness. Because if that is not constant, you can get fed up with the other person's behaviors and views of life.
When they say opposite attracts, I don't understand that. Does that mean a man will be attracted to a woman, or does it mean opposite characters? The question is not very clear, but I would say if it's one thinking that a man is attracted to a woman, then yes. Even magnets, like they say, when they say opposite attract, I think that law is from. It has to do with something with magnets. I'm not great with physics, but I know that if you put two like poles together from a magnet, they will repel, they'll push each other away. It's the opposite ends of the magnet that would attract each other. So if that's what you mean, then yes, a man will be attracted to a woman. I think is the natural norm. So that one is not something that we were taught. It's something that is embedded in us. And then if it has to do with, say, attitude or characters, then I won't agree with that, because more often than not, you tend to choose someone who you understand, or someone who you believe can tolerate you. And in most cases, it will be someone whose character is similar to yours, not someone who is completely opposite. So for instance, if you're one who is quiet, who likes reading, you would not be very comfortable with someone who is, say, always partying, because I think you would have issues at home. For instance, you want to read, he wants to play loud music, and then so. But I don't understand the question, so if I hope that my rambling would have answered one of them. And the other part of the question is, could you fall in love with someone completely different? Or could you fall in love with a completely different person? When you say different, is that different in character, or someone just new? Because I think falling in love or being in love with someone, you would have known them. I'm sure you have to know them, know their flaws, know what you can tolerate, and that. And the other thing about love is, sometimes when you love someone, then a lot of the things that are a problem, you hardly see them, or you see them but you can tolerate them. So if it gets to a point where you are in love with somebody, then you already know them completely. That's how I see it anyway. So if the question is, could you fall in love with a completely different person? Is that different in personality? Different? If that's the case, then yes, you can. But to fall in love, it means you know them well enough, to ignore the differences.
So we're talking about compromise here. Compromise is inevitable in love. However, you must never compromise on core values, whatever that means to you. Godliness, morality, parenting skill, work ethics, home economics, order, hygiene, creativity. Don't compromise on these things. But if the opposites are for petty things of mere preference, like where to press the toothpaste or what football team to support, of course I'll compromise.
That opposites do attract, but if you want to settle down, you have to, or generally, people will find for something that is more similar to what they have been exposed to since their childhood, where they would like to search for people that resembles their parents or the parents' characters without realizing subconsciously that's what they will actually look for.